Thank you for joining, everybody. And we are thrilled to be talking about Operto and Hostfully. You know how you have your best thoughts like in the shower or when you're on a walk. This morning I was thinking about how amazing is it that we live in a time where our lives are becoming more and more like the Jetsons, right? Like we're living in an era that I think when we were young kids, we could just start to imagine, and now we're seeing all the realities of IoT and automation in our homes coming true. So I think it's so exciting to be at the intersection of that and travel when it comes to Hostfully and Operto. Because even if you think about it further, like I have a Nest in my home, but there's really no better place to introduce new creative ways to have automation in an environment than through a trip, right? A trip that you're staying in, and you don't have to invest a lot in, and you get to be kind of delighted by whatever you're experiencing. So I just was thinking about how wonderful it is to be alive today and to be able to see some of this technology come to fruition. And Steve, I'm really happy to be meeting with you. I know you're kind of new to Operto, and I'm happy to have this conversation with you and hear about your perspective on automation and delighted guests. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I think we love doing events like this with our partners. I mean, Hostfully is a fantastic partner of ours, and hopefully the guests today can take something away from some of the conversation. And I absolutely encourage people just to ask questions if you have them, just because it is a brave new frontier we're sort of heading into, and yeah, the possibilities are endless, but the possibilities are also a little bit daunting to those who haven't necessarily been exposed to a tech-forward, tech-enabled world. So with that, if you're happy, I'll just kick off, Margot.
Yeah, that sounds great. Oh, and I didn't do intros. So my name is Margot. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hostfully. This is Steve Davis, CEO of Operto. I think that's all we need, but I just remembered I forgot to do that.
Awesome.
So hi, everybody. Go for it.
Good morning, everyone. Cool. Yeah, so as Margot just mentioned, I'm Steve Davis. I'm the CEO of Operto. And I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about a little bit about our business and kind of this technology wave that's taking over the industry at the moment, and hopefully help make a little bit of sense about it not in terms of learning so much about every possibility, but sort of learning enough to be to make informed decisions if you are looking to add technology to your business. So these are some of the things I'm going to cover. Just a little bit about us, this sort of wave that's hitting us, smart sensors, a little bit about what they are, if you are sort of new to the party and just want a little taster of how it works and what's going on. And then I think the most important thing is, because we are moving, a lot of our current customers are moving sort of from an analog world into a digital world. You do have sort of reticence around, like, okay, where do I start? How do I do this? This seems too much for me, like bury my head in the sand. And so really what we're all about is helping people to make sense of it and then implement the pieces that make the most sense for their properties, because there is no one size fits all solution at all. So a little bit about us. We've been around for the better part of 7-8 years. As Margot mentioned, I took over as CEO in October, right as sort of we could see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of COVID and sort of the reemergence of the travel industry. And I'm sure we've all experienced so far this sort of mad pandemonium that's happening, mass bookings, mass revenge travel. It's all kind of happening. And so we're finding a lot of the people that we talked to a long time ago are now kind of calling us and wanting to have these conversations again. So in those 7 years, we've really established ourselves as a global leader in control systems for smart locks and other IoT, so Internet of Things. So basically all the smart things that talk to each other inside your house, TVs, washing machines. I mean, it's really kind of just keeps going and going and going. And all those technologies that talk when inside your house. So that slide's out of, I'm going to come back then. That was out of order. So we're based in Vancouver, Canada. We do service folks all over the world, on every continent. And we're founded on a really, really kind of simple belief that these simple technologies, while they might not seem simple, can really make a step change difference in the day-to-day operations of every property type. So we do work with hotels. We do a ton of work in vacation rentals, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, mixed use, the whole, like everyone is our customer. And really can make a real step change. And the technology has evolved now to the point where it's reliable, it works, and it's just awesome when you get the technology stack correct. When we started this journey, it was very much around sort of the outliers, the misfits, the early Bitcoin adopters who are putting this technology into their properties. And now what we're seeing is because you have a more savvy sort of tech forward traveler and sort of demanding these pieces of IoT, tech forward property managers, and that really is a very wide group now, because we all know how to use our smart devices and people are becoming a bit more savvy with technology. They are now using this technology to remotely manage and operate their businesses, their portfolio. So that could be, you could be a single owner, you could own a 10, 20, 50, 100,000 units. Operto works and it scales with that, of course. So we do work in the short-term rental space, apartments, boutiques, larger hotel chains, but we're our bread and butter is very much in the vacation rental space. That's where we made our name, and we're definitely we haven't outgrown the vacation rental space at all, and our solutions are really good there. Everyone always asks us this, so I like to put it in the deck. Operto is not just a random name-generated word; it's actually the Italian verb to open. And really, that speaks to what we do as our core business. So in terms of opening locks remotely, we are the best. We're the Tesla of opening doors. But really, when you talk about opening things, and especially in this new paradigm we're in, that operators are looking for ways to unlock operational efficiency. So that's through maintenance and housekeeping and all the pieces that kind of tie into that ecosystem. And then also monetizing the guest when they're staying in stay, and that's one place where like Hostfully is fantastic, because they have the digital guest book and the guest portal and all the stuff that helps to a guest to make sense of their stay and to sort of enhance their stay when they're there. So which is really what we're all trying to get to. So how does Operto work with Hostfully? We tie directly into the system, pull the reservation data, and then we basically send signals to those smart devices pre-stay, so that before the guest arrives, there's a unique code on the door, and any sort of other things that the guest has chosen, whether that's temperature control. There's other modifications that they can make pre-stay that we can send remotely to the unit to ensure that when they arrive that the unit is perfect for their stay. And so that's how we do it. So we work mostly with smart locks, but then you've got the sensors, et cetera, that are in unit, depending on how sophisticated you are. So those are the bedrocks of vacation rental. This is sort of the first step, dipping your toe in the pool. This is just a collection of some of the units that we work with. When you're talking about access control, you're really talking about how do I get in. So that can just be, a simple front door. That could be a common door. So it could be a building where your unit's inside, and there's two different types of access control. It could be access control that's tied into the elevator. There's a whole different variety of use cases, and so no two projects look the same for us, but and we work with all the top manufacturers in access control. So I would assume we cover 95%, 99% of all lock types out there. Noise and occupancy monitoring. This is becoming obviously a much bigger thing especially in vacation rentals. So the noisy neighbor, the party animal that happens to book your place, and you're remote, and then all of a sudden you've got noise complaints from the cops are showing up, whatever, and you're kind of feeling disconnected. So we have solutions which will monitor and then warn the guests when they're making too much noise. It will warn the owner operator. It will basically cut down on bad behavior. And then energy and comfort, which is talking around occupancy setbacks on smart thermostats. So helping you to save a lot of money if your guest checks in and cranks the thermostat to the top and decides that they want to have a little mini Maui inside of your home. A lot of the times they'll leave and then it'll take a week before the cleaner arrives, or there'll be a significant amount of time, and that cost of having that thermostat cranked the whole time, versus we can actually remotely bring the temperature down to an established baseline. So it's huge energy savings, and we have lots of examples of how we can do that.
Steve, I was just curious. I'm sure that, like you said, everybody's implementation of their automation is unique. And do you guys also have like suggestions for what kinds of devices or software to be using depending on different types of characterizations of a portfolio? Because I can imagine 5 luxury homes is super different from 5 apartments in the same apartment building, right?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So we, especially in these 3 main areas, access control, noise, occupancy, energy savings, whether you're tied in just a single thermostat or into an HVAC, we absolutely have a solution type for all different property types. Mm-hmm. And so we look at it very much in a singular place. So we'll learn about your property, learn about what the goals are, and then we will make recommendations. It's a very consultative process. So it's not like, here's package A and I'm just going to sell you this package. Everyone is it's an a la carte menu, but the nice thing is that no matter what you pick, it all ties together and you get the same guest experience at the end of it. So
yeah, very cool.
That makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the most overwhelming things when property managers start to approach this part of their business, is feeling like there's so many options and it's really hard to know where to go. But I also think that they want flexibility to be able to choose what they want, so that system works for them really well.
Absolutely. And so I do have, I can share some at the end with some more ROIs on just what you can expect to save when you do implement some technology in your business. Mm-hmm. I think that this slide is one of my favorite ones, because it's when you go into this new world that we're in, you can get very overwhelmed with all the smart devices that are available to you. You can walk into a Best Buy, you can walk into any large big box retailer, and the smart automation section is like a tidal wave. But when you're looking at especially in our space, the less devices you have is better, because as perfect as we'd love to think the technology is, it still breaks. There's always going to be a hiccup. There's always going to be that moment when there's an electrical storm and the power goes out, the base station blows up, the guest decides that they're going to unplug the modem and plug their Android phone in to charge it, and then taking the whole unit offline. Like there's things that still happen. And so what we like to do is make sure that the technology is working, but it's very much working in the background. So it's not in your face, overwhelming. It's just intelligently controlling the unit. And really, okay, so I'll just go through a couple of facts that we know about. So the property right now, everyone books online, right? So we know that the modern day traveler is going through direct bookings, whether they're doing an OTA, however they're finding your property, that they make bookings and managing inventory and pricing and all the rest of it are things that property managers are obviously very well aware about. But very few right now are leveraging the technology and this is, I think, where the opportunity is for owners, is how do you enhance the guest experience, not just through the technology, but a pre-stay, which is before they even arrive on property, during stay, which sort of speaks to the guest portal that Hostfully has, and post stay, so CRMs and all there's just a wide bevy of technologies that speak to this. And what the opportunity cost is of not getting this kind of right is that we're all collectively leaving a lot of money on the table, right? So you've got missed revenue opportunities, you've got higher operating costs, and especially in this kind of reopening phase where we all are cost conscious and we're trying to not necessarily squeeze every dollar out of the guest, but making sure that our operational efficiency is as high as possible and that our guests are getting that experience that they want. That's sort of the opportunity cost of not looking at this kind of technology. So yeah, so it's just something to kind of bring that forward. But the question is like, how do you actually put the technology in to drive guest experience and operational efficiency, regardless of your size? And I think to your previous point, Margot, what does that look like? So back it out even a bit further. Over the past few years, it's really been a buzz about, what does this look like? This utopian experience where every moment of the journey, from the time you book to the time you go all the way through your trip, is going to happen effortlessly, and it's going to be customized, and everyone's just going to work. And it's going to be amazing. The reality is that the technology is not necessarily quite there, but what has happened to that sort of utopian, what we would describe as the ultimate guest experience has been brought forward because of COVID. And so this seamless journey of like, from the time I book to the time I leave the property, it's just the tech just takes care of everything. What's happened now is that the modern traveler, people who are getting on planes right now that are booking with your properties, they're now demanding contactless environments. Okay, so that's really interesting for a company like us, because you have customers that we were talking to a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that were like, oh, that seems like, back to Margot's original thing, George Jetson, right? It's really cool, but it's not for me. We've got, this is how we run our property, not really interested, but it's cool, but not cool enough. And I'm not really willing to do the capital expenditure to put some of these technologies in. Now it's becoming actually table stakes. And we've actually heard stories here at Operto, because we obviously have a wide variety of customers, where customers are phoning properties and saying, do you offer contactless check-in? And tell me about like the contactless experience that I can expect when I'm coming into your property. And people are actually canceling reservations off the back of like, no, we don't do that. Check-in, front desk, everything's the same. We're just kind of making sure we wipe down a few counters. And there's the tech savvy new millennial traveler, and especially if you're coming with your family, is demanding that, not only because they just want it for convenience, but they also want it because safety is now a primary concern. And it just adds in, it's just becoming something that is expected, not a nice to have. And so we're really kind of seeing this wave of transformation happening from old school to new school, and it's being brought forward very, very quickly because the traveler is demanding it. So this is a little survey we put out a few weeks ago, actually. And you can see by the numbers, I mean, they're pretty staggering. They huge number of people want self check-in. I think that that they'll use it if, that number, by the way, used to be like in the single digits. People are still, especially in the younger generations, they're overwhelmingly preferring self check-in, so that when they're coming in on their Uber, or they're coming in before they even arrive at your property, regardless of the size or where it is, that they want to be able to complete those tasks. Now, that's not saying that they don't want to have some sort of human interaction, but they want to be able to take care of as much of the common friction points in their stay before they even arrive. And so and we're seeing that that definitely stretch into vacation rentals, and it's only gathering more and more steam. I mean, if you could talk to my sales team, you'd be amazed at how people are embracing this stuff right now. This is just a quote I took out of, off of a local, I guess it was, I can't remember which one it was, but you guys are probably seeing this as same as we are, this skyrocketing demand. But what's happening is you're having this demand that's going like this, but you've got it at the same time, you've got travelers who are looking for a different experience. Now, I know this isn't a hotel discussion and this is a hotel lobby, but this kind of scene, this is sort of like the classic Las Vegas check-in scene where you arrive at the hotel or it could be a smaller property and you have to wait for 30 minutes in a line and be sort of like at the end of a long journey. People want that gone now, and it is the operators that are getting this piece right. The initial welcoming of the guest are the ones who are winning. This is a project that we literally just completed, which is in Toronto. Again, it is a hotel experience, but absolutely carries the same amount of weight in the VR space. This is the front desk, right? It's a bar. So when you arrive, instead of going in and checking in and doing the regular thing, what they're now having is arriving. Here's your cappuccino. We've already we know that you like white wine. We've got that in your room. We've set the temperature to your preset conditions. Here's your access code. Can we offer you this, that, and the next? And really that personalization, I guess, again, through something like a guest app, that is what is happening in the market. And it's really, really exciting to see because, we've been out there talking about this for a long time. And now we're kind of seeing that George Jetson inflection point where people are going, oh yeah, I get it. And now I want it. And so, again, just really, really exciting. The overarching reason why we do this stuff, and never lose sight of this, is to deliver an amazing guest experience. And technology really, if you get it right, it does deliver that kind of piece. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about how you implement it. And this is always the scariest part. So especially if you don't have a technology background, when you walk into a Best Buy, that you kind of get a little bit overwhelmed and you go, oh, you call a local technician, not really for you. I just wanted to give everyone kind of 6 quick, easy steps to rolling out tech. And these are just very, very high level things. And they do apply, whether you're a one-person operator with a single property or you're a team managing 50 or 100 or 1,000 properties or a hotel, or it really doesn't matter what the size is. And these are the 6 steps that I would recommend. Now, this is how most people put technology into their business. They try to put a square peg in a round hole. They buy all the gear. None of it really works together. It breaks a lot. And then they call us to sort of sort it out for them. So just have a good think of how you want to do this. So first of all is diagnose the problem. I'll just break this slide down. There's a lot of words on there. It's what are we trying to accomplish? What are the things that we think we can improve on for our guests? Very, very quickly, what are the common things, the feedback points we're getting, whether you're getting feedback on TripAdvisor, you're getting different incoming guest information. How do you diagnose what those common friction points are? Then you need to obviously secure the buy-in from decision makers. Now, in some of the cases, it might be you are the decision maker, which is great because then you can disagree with yourself. But you really want to make sure that you do secure buy-in, because when you move from an older school operating model to this sort of newer paradigm, it's really important that you have buy-in across the team, because it's not from the top to the bottom. And then what you really want to do is make sure that if you do have a manager or you have an operations team, or you've got sort of those 3 or 4 champions internally, that you really want to make sure that everyone is kind of bought in, and make sure that the process of putting tech in is a collaborative one. Because what we find happens a lot is, one person makes a decision and then something goes wrong, and then it's really hard to backtrack because, you get the old, well, I told you so, or I wasn't part of that decision, or I told you we should have gone with that vendor, or whatever. So really important that you kind of assemble who are the internal champions who are going to drive this thing. And again, it could just be, if you are just a smaller operator, it doesn't really apply to you, but really important nonetheless. Mapping out the customer journey, right? So from the moment that they book with you all the way through to the moment that they click the door and leave, really important that you understand what are all the pieces in there, and then how can technology potentially remove the common friction points. And I think, again, sort of talking about like in a hostfully situation, like when you arrive and you have access to a guest portal and a digital guest book, and you can access on-prem amenities and local attractions and all those things, really amazing for the customer. Because how many of us have arrived in a town, city, place, and you go, now what? What's the first thing I want to do? I don't know anything about where I am. I don't know any of the local kind of stuff. And so being able to access easily, what to do first, what are the 5 things you want to do while you're here, and having that tie into the property are amazing. And that will drive your overall guest experience. So understanding the customer journey, and then sort of figuring out, okay, well, where are the little pieces of friction that I can put in tech. And again, from speaking just from Operto's lens, we're very, very good at that consultative kind of process, as is Hostfully as well. Okay. And then lastly, train your people. So again, and this is probably the one that people miss the most, is make sure that every one of your staff, again, it could be a small team, it could be a larger team, it could be a dispersed team across multiple locations. Just make sure that everyone knows what's going on. We're actually walking through something right now with quite a large operator with dozens of hotels, vacation rentals properties, And what happened was they only kind of shared this decision that they're going to make their properties technology enabled with a small group, and there was a bunch of their portfolio that didn't actually know that this was happening. So again, really important that you include the stakeholders, include the people that are going to be affected, and make sure that you're training them appropriately, because it's not a given. And then make sure you set your benchmarks. So what are the things that you want to accomplish? And then at the end of the quarter, at the end of the half year, the year, whatever, going, okay, we wanted to accomplish these things, and this is what the tech actually accomplished. And then what that does is it gives you a litmus test around, do we need less? Do we need more? Do we need to refocus? Do we need to shake things up? So again, it's because it's really important to get that right. The last thing I would just say is, you're going to launch this thing, you got to fine tune it, and you have to expect hiccups. Okay, this is like the people who first bought Teslas. This is like the first people who bought smartphones. This is, we are still the wave. As I like to say to people, is the wave is gathering steam, and we're out there with you. We're paddling, and the wave is cresting, and it's just a matter of timing and catching it at the right moment, and it will fundamentally change your business. Absolutely guaranteed, but you need to get it right. So expect hiccups. It's not going to be perfect, but it's possible. And lastly, this is just a shameless plug for Hostfully and ourselves. Pick a great partner. I think one of the things that makes us special, and a Hostfully as well, is our customer service is really, really good. We've got great teams that are there to catch you when you fall. And you need to, again, expect that there are going to be challenges. There's going to be the crazy long tail use cases that come out of the woods at 2 a.m. on a Saturday night or morning, and you need to make sure that you've got a partner who, when something goes wrong, they're going to pick up the phone. And I'd like to think that we are, again, really well known for that. So I'm just going to skip across a few of these. So what's the net result of this whole journey that hopefully you're going to embark on? Enhancing guest experience, driving operational efficiency, and introducing monetization opportunities for yourselves. And that is the net that those are the 3 pillars that we are constantly in search of for our customers, and things that we think that we get right a lot of the time. So if this sounds interesting to you, I would love to talk. And please get in touch with myself, get in touch with Margot. The first 2 months are on me. So it takes a while to get these things right. We would love to have you on board. Yeah, hope that made a lot of sense and is the basis of some conversation. So
thank you so much for laying all that out. I really appreciated how you were thinking about what it feels like to go through the kind of onboarding or utilization kind of adoption process with Operto, because I do think that's the biggest question from property managers. I think we can all agree that once you get it fine-tuned and working, then it's going to have huge impacts on your business. It's getting through those first steps of like thinking about diagnosing the problem, understanding who you need to be involved, who needs to be involved in the decision making on the team, what problems to address first, that I think are actually the parts that are most overwhelming for property managers. But I think that we all can agree that the demand is certainly there, and that it's one of those things where it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. You just got to do it at some point, and it's probably going to be a little bit rocky on the way there, but the outcome is going to be much better than where you were before. And we're so excited to be enabling this at Hostfully. And also, I just wanted to mention that I appreciate it. I know you guys have a guest app, and we talked about this beforehand, and Hostfully does too. The interesting thing about our two guest apps is that they're really different, right? Like, and so if any customers are interested in exploring those, Hostfully's is really focused on local recommendations, and yours is all focused on IoT. And I think there's like actually good reasons why they're both really valuable. But it made me excited to partner with Operto because I think there's a lot of value that we can bring that's very complementary to each other, and we're really delighted to be a partner with you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we're with our guest app, it's really about access and customization and check in and check out. So making sure that when you arrive, you don't have to leaf through the disgusting plastic paged like guest book that's kind of there, but sort of sells this is where everything is, this is how you leave the property. And then in terms of as you said, they are very different but super complementary to each other.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's see, does anybody have any questions? We didn't see any questions come up during the talk. I did put some polls in there. I don't know if you guys saw that. Just asking how many properties people manage, but I'll just pause for a second and just make sure there's no other questions before we wrap up here. I think you covered a lot of information. I guess one question I have is, do you have like a full set? Just go to Operto's website to learn about all the different partners you work with in terms of the hardware and other software.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where literally every week there's new technology partners popping onto the radar. And so the nice thing with a service like ourselves is we do all that homework for you. So we will only work with technology partners that we know that are the best solution in the VR space or in the boutique hotel space or what have you. So, and because the IoT is constantly getting better, we're always doing that updating for you, right? So as soon as it's kind of nice. So it's like, as a customer, you know you're getting the right solution because we solution for you, but then also you benefit from all the improvements that just naturally occur as you go.
As part of the platform, yeah. Another question I have is, what can you tell me more about the different verticals that you guys are in? So we talked about vacation rental, short-term rentals, and hotels. What does it look like from the Operto perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have owner operators from like literally running small little campsite glamping sort of things, individual owners, smaller property sort of portfolio's, all the way up to major hotel installations. So when we set out to sort of build the tech, it's really about like how do you scale with a customer's business. So as they grow, you grow with them. Now we play in I don't know if you were alluding to sort of VR scheduler, which is sort of one of the things that we sort of added. I'm curious about that, but I was actually wondering what are the markets that you're going after? Because like hotels have different operating models than short-term rentals, right? So are there any others besides those two? And I guess then the follow-on question is like the extensibility of what you're providing to the market, which is VR scheduler, and I think it'd be interesting to hear about that too. So two separate questions. Yeah. I mean, I think just there's no property type that we don't work with. Short-term rental, mixed use, apart hotels. We work with vacation rental owners that have small and very large portfolios, boutique hotels, larger hotels. So I think across the accommodation spectrum, we cover it all, and we have technology which plugs very nicely into each one of those, depending on who you are and the type of properties that you're operating. And then on the VR scheduler side, like you have the IoT and you have the guest apps and all the rest of it, but getting the operational side of the business correct is actually just as difficult. So we actually just acquired VR scheduler, which is probably one of the preeminent players in the space around okay, well, what happens when the guest leaves, right? You need to organize all the housekeeping. You need to organize all the scheduling that goes on there. You need to organize any maintenance things that are popping up, anything that's being flagged by the guest or the cleaner, and all the sort of operational pieces, which ties in perfectly with, again, like yourselves, like Hostfully, and then you've got the IoT through us. So it's really just sort of rounds out our overall offering, and it makes it a little bit more because you're not then plugging in multiple vendors. You're like with Operto, you kind of get the whole umbrella instead of getting like a spoke, right? You get the wheel instead of the spoke, and so that's why we're a little bit different. Very cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. It was really nice chatting with you and learning about your approach and getting to hear your voice as the CEO of Operto. I can tell it's going to be a really fun ride for you and the company. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to Hostfully. It's just hello@hostfully.com. It's a great way to reach us. Steve is steve@operto.com. You can reach out to me personally. It's margot@hostfully.com. We look forward to connecting with more property managers and bringing them the magic of the Operto and Hostfully integration, which can do a lot for you. So thank you.
You bet.